You know that feeling you pull on a brand new sweater or maybe a t-shirt you love and you spot it? A tiny, mysterious imperfection, a weird little line, a small snag, maybe a discolored spot. Where do these tiny ghosts in the machine actually come from? It happens all the time, right? You're looking at this thing that's supposed to be perfect, fresh from the factory, but there's this tiny glitch in the matrix. And it just makes you wonder, what went wrong somewhere down the line? Well, the truth is, each of those little flaws is a story. It's like a fossil from the factory floor. It's a clue that tells you about a single moment when an incredibly complex, high-speed process went just slightly off the rails. So today, we're going to decode those clues. Let's start right where most of our clothing begins, on the loom. This is where individual threads are woven together to create fabrics like your denim jeans or your bed linens, and it is a major hotspot for things to go wrong. I mean, the sheer scale of this is just mind-boggling. We're not talking about a few threads here. A modern industrial loom is a blur of motion, conducting this insane high-speed dance between thousands of yarns. If just one of those threads is out of step, the whole pattern can get thrown off. So our first flaw is called a broken end. Now, think of the long vertical threads as the backbone of the fabric. Those are called the warp threads. A broken end is literally just when one of those threads snaps and goes missing, leaving this thin, empty line running all the way up the cloth. Now, modern looms have sensors to stop the machine when this happens, but sometimes they miss it, and the flaw gets woven right in. And then we've got its close cousin, the broken pick. This one involves the weft thread. That's the one that travels back and forth horizontally, weaving through the warp. With a broken pick, that thread breaks mid-journey, creating an incomplete line across the fabric. It's basically the same problem, just in the other direction. So to put it super simply, a broken end is a missing north-south line. A broken peck is an incomplete east-west line. One is about the stationary foundation threads, and the other is about the thread that's constantly moving. It all comes down to the direction. So why do these threads break in the first place? Well, it could be anything. Maybe the yarn itself is just a bit weak, or it has a big knot in it, or the machine settings could be off. If the tension is cranked up too high, it's like a guitar string wound too tight. It's going to snap. Even if the machine's timing is off by a single millisecond, threads can get snagged and break. Okay, now here is one you have definitely seen before. It's called a float. This is that long, loose thread you sometimes find on your jeans or a kitchen towel, where one yarn has skipped over a bunch of others instead of weaving under and over them like it's supposed to. It's so easy to spot because that one thread just catches the light differently, floating there on the surface. And this happens for a few reasons. Sometimes a tiny bit of lint, they call it loom fly, gets trapped in the weaving path and messes things up. Other times, a poorly tied knot gets tangled. It can even be caused by a single broken heald, which is this tiny little wire that guides each thread, letting that one yarn just wander off course. And then there's the big one, a smash. This is not a subtle flaw, okay? This is a catastrophe. It's a large, totally mangled area with tons of broken threads. It happens when the shuttle that's carrying the weft thread gets trapped and just wrecks everything in its path. It's pretty much the textile version of a multi-car pileup on the freeway. So, as you can see, weaving is a game of incredible precision. Almost every single one of these flaws we've looked at boils down to a failure in one of just three areas: the quality of the yarn itself, the microsecond timing of the machine, or that delicate balance of tension. All right, let's switch gears and look at our other major fabric type, knits. We're talking t-shirts, sweaters, socks. Instead of lacing straight threads together, knitting creates interlocking loops of yarn, and that process comes with its own completely unique set of challenges. And the most infamous knitting flaw is, of course, the dropped stitch. This is what creates that dreaded ladder or a run in your tights or sweater. It's where a needle fails to grab a loop of yarn and that one single missed stitch just unravels, creating a vertical line of chaos all the way down the fabric. So what causes this absolute nightmare? Often, it's something incredibly small. A tiny speck of lint behind a needle, a latch that's just slightly bent or stiff. Even one single worn-out needle in a bank of thousands can be the culprit. It's such a delicate operation where the smallest piece of debris can cause a total system failure. Now, a less dramatic but still really common flaw is the needle line. This shows up as a visible vertical streak in the fabric. It's not a hole, but you can see the texture is just different. Maybe a little tighter or a little looser than the fabric around it, and it creates this visible line. And what's fascinating here is that this is often caused by just one single needle being slightly different from all the rest. Maybe it's a brand new replacement needle that's shinier than the old ones, or one that has a microscopic burr on it. That one rogue needle, just doing its job over and over, knits a slightly different loop every single time, creating a visible streak down the entire roll of fabric. Okay, so the fabric is woven or it's knitted. It's not a piece of clothing yet, not by a long shot. It still has to be finished. That means dyed, printed, and treated. And this final stage is a whole new minefield of potential flaws. A classic finishing flaw is the dye spot. This is exactly what it sounds like, a small, concentrated splotch of color on an otherwise uniform fabric. It's that little dark fleck on your light blue t-shirt that just will not wash out. And the causes are almost frustratingly simple. It could be an undissolved clump of dye powder that hits the fabric, a single drop of condensed water falling from the ceiling while the dye is setting, or even a tiny drip of oil from the machinery that prevents the dye from sticking to that one spot. Finally, there's the crease mark. Have you ever tried to iron out a wrinkle that just refuses to disappear? Well, it might actually be a crease mark. This happens when the fabric gets folded or wrinkled while it's going through a high-heat finishing process, which literally bakes that crease into the fibers forever. So, when you really stop and think about it, the clothes in your closet that don't have any of these flaws, they're pretty amazing. Each one is a small miracle, a testament to a hugely complex system of quality control working perfectly, navigating a process with hundreds of things that could go wrong at any second. It really makes you think, doesn't it? In an industry that is built on producing millions of garments at incredible speeds, maybe the occasional small flaw isn't really a failure, but just an inevitable signature of the process itself. It leaves us with a pretty big question. What does perfection even look like in the face of such immense scale?